I'm also the I'm also one of the deputy co-chairs for Diversity and Inclusion Committee of SBE Ghana section, and I'll be your moderator for today. Um, it's great to see you all, and nice to see that all of us here are interested in promoting more inclusive workplaces. Our session for today is on unconscious bias, as I said, and it's something we all have, and it's something that can subtly influence our behavior, our decisions, and even how we interact with our colleagues at work. So within the next hour, we'll try to explore what unconscious bias is, how it manifests in the workplace, and most importantly, how we can overcome it. I'll go through I'll remind us of a few things. Please keep your microphones muted during the presentations to avoid any background noise. Feel free to use the chat function to share your thoughts and questions. We'll address them during the Q&A session at the end. And also, please note that this session is being recorded and will be available for later viewing. And before we get into the presentations, I would invite Nidra, who is our chair, our DNI chair, to give us a few words and also introduce our speakers for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Na, for the brief introduction and welcome to everyone. So, as she said, we are the DNI team, that's diversity and inclusion, and we are looking at creating a lot of awareness around topics that are critical to this whole diversity conversation, right? So that's why we picked the understanding and overcoming unconscious bias as the first thing that we wanted to touch base on this year. So helping us do this, we have two seasoned HR professionals. As you can see on the poster, we have Grace, who is a seasoned professional in human resources, has a bachelor's degree in psychology. She's a very effective and motivated human resource person, and has over 5 years of experience providing all kinds of employee support and engagement in SLB. As the HR for Ghana and Ivory Coast, she's currently the first point of contact for employee relations and concerns. In addition to all of this, she has interest in child development, and then she's also a strong advocate for diversity and inclusion. So that's the Grace in a nutshell. And then we also have Dr. Edward Appiah Brafo, who is also a human capital professional with more than 20 years of experience in human resource management and development. And out of that 20 years, he's been in the oil and gas industry 16 years or so. So you can tell that he's an authority in oil and gas field matters, which is a very strong candidate for diversity and inclusion discussions, because it has probably been dominated by a particular gender up until recent times. So he was also the human capital manager at Petroleum Commission of Ghana. And prior to that, he was human resource officer at the GNPC from 2008 to 2015. He has a doctorate in business administration from Royal Roads University, British Columbia, Canada. And he also has a master's degree in an MSc in human resource development, as well as a Master of Arts in communication. So we have a very, very experienced professional to also drive this conversation with multiple, accolades to his name. Currently, he's the Deputy Director for Corporate Affairs at Petroleum Commission. So we believe that we have on the panel, or we are going to be getting very good information and very key nuggets to help us on this journey from these two individuals. So at this point in time, I'm going to hand it over to the first speaker to start, after which Dr. Appiah Brafo would take the stage, and then we would have time to do some Q&A and have some brief discussions before we come to an end. Thank you very much for having me introduce this wonderful speakers, and we look forward to a great time in this session. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Nidra. I will be sharing my screen shortly. Please let me know if you can see, okay? Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So my name is Grace. People formerly known me as Grace Kumi Otopa. But currently I'm Grace Ameho. So if you see that name anywhere, it's still me. Okay. So welcome to this session. It's a privilege to be on this panel and to discuss one of the most important topics that we have in our organizations and even in our schools, which is unconscious bias. But before we move on, right, I just want to share a people movement with us. So this people movement, it's part of a culture that I have inculcated in my presentations. Right, it's a moment that we reflect on different things. And so this people movement for today, I named it as the rose, the thorn, and then the bud. So with the rose to this morning, I'm asking you what was a highlight in 2024 and what are you most proud of? You don't need to say it, but then it's time to reflect. What were you most proud of in 2024? And what made 2024 also stressful and what made it hard to be successful? So there are times that in 2024, it wasn't all that rosy, but what actually made it stressful for you? And what are you looking forward to in case you encounter such problems in 2025? How are you going to navigate through it? And then the bad is what is coming. What are you looking forward to in 2025? What opportunities lie ahead? Have you made plans? Are you ready for those opportunities? If you are called today, are you ready to do that? So these are some few tips that I would want you to reflect on, even though we are doing unconscious bias, it's a nuggets and tips that I'm giving you to reflect on even after this session. Okay. Now, before we move on, I would want us to watch this short clip and then let me know what you think about. So this is going to be an interactive session. So after the video, just drop what you think in the chat box, okay? So let me know if you can hear or you can see.
Bias doesn't exist just in the workplace. It's pretty much everywhere. People can make assumptions about others by just looking at them. It's amazing sometimes what we think we know in an instant, at a glance. The fact is, our brains are hardwired to use shortcuts. It's a normal human characteristic. It's not always negative. Our biases can trigger positive or merely descriptive assumptions about others, but they are assumptions. And the question is, what happens when those assumptions, when bias, goes unchecked?
Okay. So what do you think? You can raise your hand or you can put something in the chat. I cannot see it from my side. I'm not really a Zoom guru. So if you have it, you can raise your hand or Nidra. If anybody puts anything in the chat, you can read it out. So what do you think about the video? What came into your mind looking at the various scenarios? Anyone? Okay. All right.
Okay,
So,
So
okay,
someone
go
has put
ahead.
something in the chat.
Yeah.
Being biased isn't always a bad thing, and it's something we all do consciously or unconsciously. Coming from
Yeah.
Joyce.
Yeah, absolutely, Joycelyn. It's that the name speaks for itself, right? It's unconscious, and as you said, sometimes it could be conscious. Some people are aware that they are being biased towards their colleagues, but they still go ahead to do it. And other times, it's also unconscious. As we go through the presentation, you would find out some more. Okay. So when we talk about bias in general, right, refers to a prejudice that towards someone or something. Biases could be systemic or it could be personal, and this can influence our behaviors and perception in ways that may not necessarily be fair or objective, right? So bias can be positive, it can be negative, and it ranges from various variety based on the factors include race, gender, religion, socioeconomic status. So when we come to unconscious bias, when bias become unconscious, it's also refers to an attitude or stereotypes which affect our understanding, our actions, our decisions in an unconscious manner, right? So these biases, it's involuntary. It's formed based on your experiences, right? So your background, your environment, or the level of your awareness also can, or to some extent, can affect how you also view things. Now, bias creates, when unconscious bias, right, it creates some blind spots in us. So it could create a cultural blind spot. So because of the way you were brought up, your nature or your nature, there is a particular way that you judge people by their marital status, their parental status, their religion, their educational background, their nationality, and many more. It could also affect it could also create a behavioral blind spot on how you see people, how you communicate. So unconsciously, some people may come out when you mention certain roles or you mention certain people leading in a society, they will tend to focus on a particular gender, right? Because of how they've been brought up or what they are privy to. So these are some of the things that affect us unconsciously, and there is a science behind it as well, right? So because of where it's something that forms from our basis, and as I mentioned, it affects our brain, it affects the way we think, and there is a neuroscience around it. But once you are aware that you are being biased, that is where it's very important, right? That's where you need to take some measure. That's where you need to be willing to be approached and to be told that what you are doing is not right and this is what you have to be done. So it's always good for you to be accommodative when people need to correct you, okay? So how does unconscious bias impact us in the workplace? So in hiring and promotion, and trust me, this is something that is really affecting us in our workplace. There was a story that someone told me during the COVID, right? They applied for a job, and then the first interview was done online, and then they had to do a second round of interview. Now they called them, this in Ghana here, they called them together at a particular hotel that those who pass for the second round will meet some panelists, there's both virtual and in person. So there was one gentleman who was in dreadlocks, and they were sitting outside. And so when it's your turn, you open and then you enter, but the door was the entrance was closer to where they were sitting. So when the first person opened the door, someone inside saw the guy in dreadlocks and was like, and he said it in Chi. So I'm just going to say it out and I'll paraphrase. He said, "Hey, a Rasta way or two or Rasta way so about the thing a Juma waha. On Panama Rasta in Juma waha." So in summary, right, the person was saying that is this person in dreadlocks also coming to look for a job? She's not going to allow the person to work in the firm, right? But guess what? After the interview, they realized that the guy was up to task and he knew what he was about. So these are some of the biases we have. Like, as soon as you see somebody, you try to put them in a particular box, or when you hear that someone is coming from here, you try to put them in a particular zone in your brain that fits them. But that may not necessarily be how they appear to be. So hiring managers here or future hiring managers here, you need to see people, you need to give people the benefit of the doubt. You need to assess people based on the criteria that you are looking out for, not just because of what the boxes you have in your mind or where you want to place them, right? So hiring and promotion are one of the places that we see unconscious bias. As I said, it comes involuntary. So it's up to you to check yourself and also be willing that when people come to you and tell you that this you are being biased here or there, you are able to accept it, retreat, and then rephrase, right? So the next one is also team dynamics. So in our workplace, people tend to also affiliate or come closer to some particular people because of their experience, their attributes, their social status, and they form like cliques in the workplace. So they are very comfortable associating themselves with some particular people. And this really affects the growth or in the organization, right? So some people may feel left out because they believe that they don't belong to this particular clique. And it's happening in our organization. You may not even be aware of it. Sometimes you feel that these are your friends. These are the kind of people that you gel with. And sometimes when people from outside this clique approach you, you have a different way of responding to them. And as I said, you may not be aware, but then you have to make sure that wherever you find yourself at the workplace, you treat people equally, right? You are very objective in what you are doing, and you don't see people that because you come from this background or because of this, your status, I treat you in a different way. So that is one of the impact in our workplace, which is team dynamics. The other one too is on performance review. And I believe that if we ask people to share experience, we may be able to get one or two experiences from people. Biases can affect performance, right? Some employees will be receiving favorable evaluations due to certain preferences that their managers think that this is how I want you to be, instead of them looking at the KPIs that they're giving the person, right? Because I see, some people find it in a way that they see themselves in another person. And because of that, they tend to like those people more than the rest. It could be unconscious. And as I said, sometimes when they are doing, they don't even realize it, that is what is happening. And so that's why it's very important that if you're a manager, the feedback shouldn't always be up and down, right? From the down to the top is also very important. It's important that you ask your reports like to give feedback. It could be anonymous survey that you can send to your report, just for them to send you constructive feedback, and then you look at it and take some measures towards changing, right? And opportunities and development. No, so certain employees might be given more opportunities in development and growth, of course, due to unconscious bias, right? So this is linked to all the steps that I've mentioned before. So if someone, you think that someone, you are so affiliated to someone, you like somebody more, you are always making sure that they develop, they are the ones doing the presentations all the time in meetings, they are the ones being given the tasks because you think that this person is good, is fast. And when I give the other person, I need to babysit the person, I need to sit by the person and cross the T's and dot the I's. But all of them are there for development, right? So if let's say that if that person is not available today, who is the next person you are going to fall on in your team? And that's something that you have to think about critically, because if you channel all your efforts on one person, it's not going to help the organization in the long run. At the end of the day, the people went through interviews, they went through the criteria, and then the recruiters deemed it fit that they are appropriate for that position. So approach them, let them know why. Maybe there may be a very important reason why they are not performing. They may not have the necessary equipment or training to be doing their jobs. So you need to approach them rather than putting them in a particular box in your mind that this person, no, this is my go-to person, and that's the person that is going to do everything. Okay. So there's been some research on unconscious bias, right? We've not had a lot of people coming up with such researches in Africa, but this was done in the US, and this is something that I want to share with you. And then in the research, they say when a hiring managers believe a woman has children because parents teacher association coordinator appears on her resume, how much less likely was she to be hired, right? So this is maternal bias. And you know, whenever people mention motherhood or maybe they have children, it triggers false assumption that the person is less committed to their career, and because the person maybe because the person has kids, or maybe the person have little kids, or the person is pregnant, the person may be less committed to their career and even not competent for the job, right? So this is happening. Sometimes it may be unconscious. Like, can you believe that people have, and you know, this survey mentioned that 79% of the people 79% of the people will not be able to get jobs, right? And because they put parent teacher association coordinator on their resume. Okay, so bias isn't limited to gender. That's the first thing that I want to tell you. We all fall into bias traps. Knowing that bias exists isn't enough. Commit to take action and give people the benefit of the doubt, right? But staying on this, you know, we have there was something that someone shared with me about someone being pregnant. They think that when they employ women, they will be pregnant, they will be away, and all that, and that is also serving as a loophole in their team. And if you are here and you've ever encountered that, or you are a manager that has females in your team, definitely one day maybe one of them may take that route of having their own children. I just want to let you know that you have a whole 9 months, right, to prepare and make sure that while she's away, her job is being handled by someone else. So don't see that as a block or as an impediment that you don't want this person to, a woman, to be part of your team. Okay. So the next example that I want us to look at is affinity bias, right? So as when we think so much alike, and you want working in bigger projects, like I want you to be working on bigger projects, like as I mentioned before, because you think that this person, you see yourself in that person, you see that this person is good, this person is excellent, that is your only go-to person, and you are giving the person all the projects or everything. This is the only person. Meanwhile, that's not the, you have multiple people in your team, right? So affinity bias is what it sounds like. This we gravitate towards people like ourselves in appearance, in beliefs, in background, and we may avoid or even dislike people who are different from us. Okay, so this is something that you need to bear in mind, and then you need to take action on. Okay. So impact, so today we have some students here as well, I believe. And so they are also not, I didn't want to leave them out on our discussion. Now, unconscious bias among students may seem like a discrimination, okay? So academic performance. So, you know, sitting back today, we realize that some of our classmates that we thought that this person is not doing well, and teachers who are even on this platform may attest to it. It's not because they are not intelligent, but it may be because their learning style is different. However, we are all being taught the same way in class, and because they cannot grab what they are being taught in that particular way, we tend to put them in a particular box that these people are not doing well. And this happens most among students, right? You think that this fellow in your class is not that intelligent. I don't want to associate myself with the person. I want to be part of the sharks, as we call them, right? But this is something that we have to also take note of as a student. And also self-esteem and mental health, right? So when we discriminate among people because of their social status, we form some cliques because we are the academic gurus in the class, or we come from some kind of background in the class. It brings it's affects the self-esteem of our colleagues, and it can also lead to depression, right? We've heard cases where people are in school and then they commit suicide. There's so much to this. It could be as a result of this, right? Because people may be bubbly and all that running around, but you may never know what they are going through. So don't add your unconscious bias, your unconscious bias way of behaving on to what they are facing already. Okay. And also social relationships, right? So it's also hinders that once people, you know, when you talk to some people, they've suffered a lot of discrimination, even at the university level or even in senior high school levels, right? Because of the way their colleagues saw them or how they were tagged in school, and it very much affects them even onto adulthood. People have to go through therapies to come out of such things. So because of that, even here, you know, at future opportunities, it impacts them so much because they are being discriminated. They think that they are not part of the sharks in the class. They are not part of a particular social status. So they are not among the called, let me put it that way, and which will even affect their employment opportunities, right? So if you're a student here, you are not left out. This doesn't happen only in our workplace, right? It happens in your classrooms, it happens in your hostels, it happens everywhere. So you have to be conscious of it and take the necessary actions, okay? So how are we recognizing unconscious bias and what are we doing about it? So as I mentioned earlier, recognizing it is good, but that is not just where it ends, but then taking steps to make sure that you are aware that what you are doing is unconscious. That will also help. It will go a long way. So awareness and education, as we are doing here, it's a step forward for us to mitigate bias. Okay, so as we are raising this awareness, it doesn't end here. So you have been an agent of change. You tell people in your class, people in your workplace, that you see that they are exhibiting an unconscious behavior. As I said, it's very unconscious. So you also need to know how you approach people that you think that they are being biased, right? You need to know how to approach them. And then diverse teams. So in our teams, we need to have diverse people of age, of race. If you have different race in your organization, you need to have diverse people in your team as well. And then procedures should be standardized. We are talking about recruiting. We have the standard way of recruiting people. You know the criteria that you are looking for. You need to look at that, right? If you are rating people on their performance, you have their KPIs. You know the standards that you have to follow. You need to follow that rather than being biased towards each other. And as I mentioned earlier, feedback is great. So the feedback doesn't have to just be top and down. It's sometimes it's always good to also ask your subordinate to also give you feedback on that. Right? So ending this session real quick, I need you to share your personal commitment. You may jot it down, you may put it in the chat box. So what are you committed in doing? What actions are you taking going forward? You have to get uncomfortable if you are being biased, right? And support your team as well. You need to practice even the language that we use. Sometimes you just assume a particular gender, so you assume a particular pronoun that you use, and then you need to speak up. Silence is not support. As I said, give people feedback. If you see that people are being biased, let them know. Let go of your desire of being right. When you are being corrected, don't be too rigid, for lack of better words, that you don't want to listen, or you are trying to defend it every time. Listen and then take it into thought and see how you can handle that, and get precise. Okay, get precise about what you are doing, what you want to do going forward in your team, in your school, wherever you are. So thank you very much. That is all from my side for now.
Thank you so much, Grace. That was very informative. Please type your questions in the chat box. We will now move on to Dr. Appiah-Baffo's presentation.
Okay, let me do and share my screen. 1 second. Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes, please, we can. But can
Very
you put
well.
it in presentation mode, please? If you can just
Yeah, I think I have done
switch
that on
to
mine.
presentation.
It doesn't show on yours, right?
No.
It's showing on my screen as in a presentation mode.
What do that? So press your F5. If you're using two screens.
No, one screen.
Okay, so just hit the F5 button. Let's see if it's going to take it into.
Okay. Did it do it?
Was? No.
No.
Let me go off. Okay, let me. 1 second.
Or use the icon at the lower part of the screen to just to get it done.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's an icon at the lower part of the screen that you
Yes.
can just click on.
Yes, I've clicked on that
Please click
icon.
there.
So it's showing on mine in presentation mode, and I don't know why it's not showing on yours as such.
Okay, let's go on with this. Maybe it's taking a while to reflect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me. But you can see on your screens, right?
Oh, we can see, all right.
We can.
I think you can start, and if anybody's around, they can just quickly come walk over to you and just help sort
Yeah.
it out.
Now, if you can quickly
Yeah,
call
yeah.
the IT, one of them to quickly come to the office.
Okay, I'm coming.
Mine.
Please,
Yes.
excuse me to interrupt,
Let
but
me.
instead of
Okay,
using
hold
the
on. Let me.
usual icon for presentation, you can use the open book icon close to it.
Fifi is here. Yeah, Fifi, you can lock it up.
Hello, can
Okay, Fifi,
anyone
look
hear
at it.
me?
You know it's presentation on
Oh,
mine. But okay, so now let me go off. Now we're here. So I should share here. Okay, and then okay. So I should open it. Okay. Now
What you can do is also that you can save in PDF and then project from it.
I think it's fine. We can see it, so we can just go ahead and then
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
so that we don't take up all the time trying to sort it out.
and in love. And so if you have these unconscious biases permeating the organization that you superintend or work in, then uh, I'm afraid you will have some problems. You may not be able to achieve your objectives. It hinders the achievement of organizational objectives. My time is running, so I'll go through quickly. So, how to mitigate unconscious bias in the workplace? Personal awareness. Great mentioned this. This is the process of looking inward to recognize beliefs and values that can lead to unconscious bias. If you are not able to come to the conclusion that, or come to the awareness level that you have some biases or people have biases, you will not be able to advance. So we must do self introspection, sit as individuals, consider yourselves, know that you have biases. It is from that point that you begin to to make inroads and come up with programs and strategies to overcome them. Oh, oh, sorry. Can you still see the screen?
Yes, we can.
I think. Hold on. Oh, I think it stopped. It stopped sharing, right?
We can see.
You can see. Hold on. I think my thing is okay. Yeah, it's here. So we must have that personal awareness. Number two, how to mitigate unconscious bias in the workplace. We must have come to that level of acknowledgement there must be that acknowledgement that a problem exists. And with that acknowledgement comes acceptance of accountability and responsibility to make a difference. And so, number one, we've come to the conclusion that we've come to the awareness level. We are aware that we have biases. Number two, we are acknowledging the fact that the biases are there. They are problems for us in our workplaces, and we must do something to counteract them. And that is where accountability and responsibility levels come in. Number three, Grace also mentioned is education. That is the key. Plato defined education as the turning of the eye of the soul toward light. And so, enhanced knowledge is so central to raising awareness and recognizing the existence of unconscious bias and reducing its prevalence. So we must constantly come up with programs and strategies through education, our learning and development programs, to let staff know that we have these unconscious biases and that we must come up with programs and strategies to counteract them. If we don't map out strategies through education for our employees and the workers within our organizations, the biases will still be there, and we will not be able to achieve um, our objectives as organizations. So education is so central, is so key in this enterprise. Role modeling is one of them. Organizational leaders should model inclusive behavior. Oh, what is this? Organizational leaders should model inclusive behavior and openly discuss their own efforts to combat unconscious biases. Leadership is everything. And so, even if HR comes up with programs that would tend to help raise the awareness level of employees about unconscious biases we have, and the fact that HR may want to come up with programs to address this in a given period of time, if leadership does not commit to this, it becomes a 9-day wonder. It becomes cost 90 work. It becomes zero. So leadership is crucial in this. And organizational leaders must make that conclusive effort to ensure that they support HR, they lead by example, and ensure that unconscious biases are dealt with in our organizations. Inclusive decision making. Ensure that decision making processes are inclusive, with diverse voices being heard and considered. There are some managers and supervisors in our workplaces, if they want to even take a decision or they're planning on something, instead of either calling a whole staff, departmental meeting or something, they'll call their friends. They'll call the ones that they love, the ones that they share the same tribe or school, high school, alma mater relationships with, and begin to discuss these things with them. And when that happens, because it is an affinity bias, you are not able to get the best advice from them. Instead of doing a holistic thing with the entire people that are working under you. So decision-making processes are so crucial, and they must be inclusive. You must make sure that everybody's voice is heard. You don't neglect and segregate and take those that you like and neglect those that you don't like. We must include decision-making processes and diverse voices in our workplaces. Accountability is so crucial. Hold leaders and managers accountable for promoting diversity and inclusion. Incorporate diversity goals into performance reviews and organizational objectives. So as the organization is planning for its strategic organizational objectives, diversity and inclusion and programs that help to bring everybody together must be considered. And by so doing, you help to bring everybody on board. So people from the same high schools will not be the only ones that are talking or meeting, but they are meeting with other groups of people, other employees, other departmental colleagues from other tribes, other groupings, and that helps and give a healthy relationship to the organization or the department. Capitalize on mentorship programs. the organizations must establish programs, mentorship programs, by pairing leaders with diverse employees to gain different perspectives. So somebody will say that you want to have, and let's say, for example, an organization is having a mentorship program, and maybe some mentors will say, okay, oh, me, I want some, because of my background, I want somebody who is just like me, somebody who attended my school, somebody who attended this. No, the mentorship program should make sure that it is diverse as possible, so that the mentor and the mentee are people from different backgrounds. And by so doing, as they get together in that mentor-mentee relationship, they get to learn so many different things. It binds them together, gradually, making them forgo their unconscious bias tendencies. And of course, from a regulatory standpoint, as I work for the regulator, we don't have policies per se at the commission, for our regulators, to follow in terms of unconscious bias. But of course, I know that there are some companies that have programs and activities that help to, cement a DEI and other programming that help to bring their employees together. But one of the things that we can do as a regulator is to encourage our regulated companies or regulatees to institute diversity consciousness into their programming and their systems and processes, to ensure that as they are working with foreign counterparts and Ghanaian people here and all that, they are aware of unconscious bias and how they do things. I remember one time we were at home, and my wife was trying to describe an Asian gentleman she had met, and she was struggling to describe that, and she said, "Oh, it's a Ching Chong guy," and my daughter said, "No, mom, that is not right. You are making a mockery of someone else's language. Why do you say that?" And of course, I mean, the three of us were there. My daughter had just come back from school, and we were looking at our faces. And I told my wife, "The place, these girls are growing, and they are in an environment where they are being taught inclusion and diversity. So when you are talking, be very careful, be sensitive, in these things. And of course, they help us to check our unconscious biases even at home." And as I conclude, one thing I would want to say, and this is a recommendation: if you read Acts 17, verse 30, I mean, I'm a Christian, so please, you can pardon me. The New International Version says that in the past, God overlooked such ignorance, but now He commands all people everywhere to repent. And I'm trying to, bring this to our level, that in the past we may not be aware of unconscious biases we may have in us, or have worked with all over the years as we're growing up, but now we are getting some awareness of these. We're getting educated in unconscious biases, and God knows that we are knowing them, and so we must make every effort to work on them, desist from extending unconscious biases in our workplaces, in our churches, in our communities, wherever we may find ourselves. And in the process, as we do that, it means we are repenting and getting to do the things that are right. So I thank you very much for your audience. And if there are questions, I think Grace and I will be willing and ready to answer the questions you have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Apiarba. Because of time, we'll just take two questions. Daniel in the chat says, "Why is being biased seen as having a positive side, as some people say?" So, Grace, I think that you mentioned something regarding this. So, if you can just answer Daniel's question.
All right, sure.
Why does?
Yeah. Okay. So, the positive side of unconscious bias. So let me give an example. So it fosters community and cohesion. So right, so when you belong to a particular group with similar background, beliefs, and cultural norms, like you see the belonging, like there's mutual understanding. It enhances teamwork and cooperation. However, we need to, so the positive aspect of the unconscious bias and the negative, there's a very thin line between us. So you need to ensure that you are not going overboard. So where it becomes negative is where you have other people in your group who are not necessarily from the same background, beliefs, or cultural norms, or whatever that you identify with, and you do not include them in the group, right? You just want to work with these people. That's when it becomes negative, right? So I believe I've answered your question, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Thank you. Okay, so you've both highlighted how important it is to raise awareness of unconscious bias in the workplace, but some people have argued that raising awareness of unconscious bias and dirty microaggressions might make some people feel overly sensitive to minor issues such as name mispronunciations or other forms of perceived discrimination, and that we should rather focus on personal growth and career development as opposed to being aware of some of these things. So, how can we raise awareness without fostering a negative mindset or victim mentality?
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Piaba, can hear you.
Yes. Yes. So I think that um, the question that is on the floor is legitimate, but the thing is that in the workplace we are in the workplace because of one thing. Let me use the Petroleum Commission. Everybody that is in here, from the chief executive to the least person among the security group, everybody is here because of the commission. And why are we here? Because of the commission. The commission has been set up by government or by an act of parliament with a certain mandate, and we are all here to ensure that this mandate is fulfilled. We achieve our objectives as an organization, and then we fulfill our mandate principally. So, and it's like that for SLB or any other establishment that we find out there. But the thing is that there is an element of togetherness or teamwork. We need to do this. And if we do not raise this awareness for people to know that, look, there are biases amongst us, and we must make effort to work on these. And as the word is unconscious bias, you are not conscious of it, and so you may be doing something that negatively affects somebody. You yourself may not know, but the person sitting down there knows that, what you are doing, I don't like it. Oh, it is not right. Is this? And then if the awareness is not created, one day somehow something may happen, and boom, it will be like a snowball. Something big will happen, and then they begin to say, "This is what you have been doing. This is what you did. This is what you did. You did this. It is against my culture. It is against this. And so many things." So principally, I mean, creating awareness doesn't mean that you are letting people uh, um, know that there is something bad. No, we want people to know that we are all in this together. We come from different backgrounds. We come from different groupings. We come from different societal upbringings. But we are in here for a certain cause. And as we are in here, because we come from different backgrounds, we need to create a culture, a way of life that will help everyone to live well here and help advance the cause of the organization. That is where the awareness creation comes in and the education comes in, so that people get to know that, look, I may be having some bias that may not be when it is extended or pretty much open, it may affect someone else's uh, behavior, or that person's sentiments or something like that. So much as it is good about career development, I mean, that is undeniable. The fact that we are talking about DE&I doesn't mean that we are neglecting career development and training and capacity development and all that. No, we will do that, but we do not neglect the fact that we are all in this together. We come from different backgrounds, and as a result of all of us coming together to respect our respective diversities, that we will be able to help advance the cause of the organization. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Grace, would you like to add something 30 seconds?
No, why not? So, in 30 seconds, I'm just trying to arrange all my thoughts. So, when we were talking about unconscious bias, we spoke about how it affects performance, rating performance, how it affects our hiring. It affects a lot of things in our organization that we may not be aware of. So it's good. Our companies have a culture, they have values, they have an agenda, and they have a direction we are going to. But then we cannot reach this destination if we don't ensure that there is some form of cohesion and among our teams, right? That people are not felt neglected, or people don't feel that they are left out. And so that is why it's also equally important that we talk about these things in diversity and inclusion, unconscious bias. Okay. I'll end it here. I don't want to talk to because our time is
Okay.
fast. So thank
Yeah.
you very much now.
Thank you. And then the last question is, we are always advised to be careful of people we let in our circles or stay around or even interact with. How can we do this without any form of drifting into the negative unconscious bias? This is from Priscilla Konudu. So 30 seconds each speaker, and then
30
we'll wrap up.
seconds. Let me go. So no, so when this we are focusing this on our workplace, right? So when we are in the workplace, for instance, if I work in a team, maybe most of you are engineers, so maybe let me use an example in my organization. So if I work in a well construction team, right? I have people in my team that I am careful of they entering my circle. So what do you define as your circle? Is it your personal life, or what are you referring to? So we have a KPI that we need to achieve. And each individual in my team have a part to play. So will I not allow them to play their part? Of course, I have to let them play their part, right? Because there is a direction that the company is going, there's an objective that has been given to us. Even if we are planning a job to go offshore, there's an objective that has been given it to us. So how do I define my circle? And once you are able to define your circle, you will be able to know, distinguish that between your work, your personal life, and any form of circle that you want to define. I hope I answered your question. 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Apia Bravo will take your answer and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, I think that I completely side with Grace in terms of talking about circle of friends or circle of people that are around us. I would want to say that even though we are talking about unconscious bias in the workplace, we must begin this from home. We will not make meaningful headway or advancement if we restrict only this to into the workplace, so that when we go home we forget everything about unconscious bias. We must the awareness creation, or the awareness level that we create among ourselves, must be from within, and this is from home to your community, to your church, to the workplace, and anywhere that you find yourself. And once you do that, anywhere you find yourself, you find a group of persons around you. So at church, you may have people around you, your pastor, your elders, your deacons, whatever. They may not be engineers. In your community, you have people that are living in your estate. One is working with a plumbing company, one is working for a post office, one is working for a Senate, one is another company. In your workplace, you have engineers with you, you have geoscientists, you have HRs and all that. And so at any given point in time, you may have people around you, or your circle of friendship, or people around you, that you may have to exhibit this level of unconscious, uh, exhibit this unconscious bias thing to them, and be aware of yourself that look, I am in this group, I am in the workplace, I am at home, I am in my community, I'm in the marketplace, wherever there is this unconscious bias that I must deal with. And once that awareness is there, wherever you find yourself, irrespective of the group or persons around you, which become your circle of persons at that point in time, you are conscious of yourself with regards to unconscious bias. And once you do that, you see yourself, advancing in this area of consciousness about biases, and it helps you as you move or go through life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Appiah Bradford. Thank you so much, Grace. Thank you all for joining this session, and apologies for exceeding the time. And we hope we'll practice the things that we've learned today. Yeah. And the recording will be available on our YouTube page, I think. And we'll also share some of the key takeaways on our social media handles. Thank you all, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes. Grace, I'll call you on the other side, eh?
All right, sure, Doc.
Yeah.